Hello, my name is Paul Henderson from Viral Shooting Ground. We're often asked about our guns, about lubrication. Now, I firmly believe, doesn't matter whether it's guns, cars or anything else, lubrication is the cheapest form of maintenance you can get. It's very important to look after and maintain your guns. So what I'm going to cover off today is just some very rough guides on how to look after and lubricate your gun after you finish cleaning it. I know everyone has different levels of how they go into, but as I say, this is when you put your gun back together. What I'm going to go through where to lubricate and how to go about it. Very obviously, there's three main sections of the gun. There's the action, the barrels and the forend. It's important that you identify the parts you're going to lubricate. Basically what you're trying to do is put a lubricating film in between any metal to metal moving parts. So the key things to identify are the hinge pins, which is on a Beretta, Prazzi, Caesar Guerini. The hinge pin is on the side of the barrel. On the Browning, it's on the underside of the barrel. And again, on the actions, the hinge pins can be seen on the sides of the action, identified from the outside. And then on the Browning, we can see the hinge pin is around the bottom of the action. So firstly, we're going to just cover off the ejectors. Again, it's quite important just to make sure there's a lubrication in the ejectors. It's probably easier to show you that the Beretta ejectors are spring loaded, so the Brownings slide in and out. So that's what we're going to make sure have lubrication. Equally, the hinge pins, also removing and lubricating the chokes. Two reasons for this. We prefer grease. There's a lot of people who use oil, just as I say, it gives a bit more of an interference fit, and it'll always prevent your chokes from getting stuck in the barrel, which can be very, very costly. So it's very important to remove the chokes, re-lubricate and reinsert after every time you've cleaned your gun or used your gun. You'll already have cleaned your gun, and different people clean the gun to the different levels. We've seen some people use cocktail sticks, some people use cotton wool buddies just to get in all the nooks and crannies. The thing that I like to do is, once I've cleaned everything off, is just with a universal leisure spray, spray the area of the block, monoblock, clean your excess residue off, and there is now enough lubrication in the slider of the ejectors. Again, if I set that down, and I'll show you the same on the Brown, which is easier because the ejectors slide in and out. You've wiped all the excess off with your not so clean cloth. Lubricate with the leisure spray, slide the ejectors in and out, wipe off any excess. It's very important to remove any excess oil so that it doesn't contaminate the wood at any time. So that is enough lubrication on the ejectors. Now there is a debate as well on greasing the side of the monoblock. You could put a thin film of grease around all areas to ensure that anywhere where there is a metal to metal touch has a lubrication on it, which will prevent any scoring or help prevent rubbing. Next on the barrels is the opposite end, the choke. Again, you will have already cleaned your choke, or sorry, cleaned your barrels. So we'll just remove the choke. I mean, I've already pre-slackened this one off. It wasn't this slack. It's a choke key there. Remove the choke from the barrel. Again, if you've just cleaned your gun, this will have a residue on it, so wipe off any residue. And then, pure and simply, a little bit of grease. There are gun grease you can buy, or standard L2 grease. And again, just a little bit of grease on your finger, and most importantly, just rub it around the threads, come down the threads. Be very, very careful at this point that you haven't got a burr on any of the threads, which you shouldn't, because these chokes are fairly hard. Rub the grease all over the threads and a nice coating, and then back into the barrel. Barrel round. Now at this point, when the choke goes back into the barrel, it's going to leave a little bit of residue of grease around the end of the barrel. So once it's fully home, you'll see that little bit of film. You can just remove that. So choke's nipped up, finger tight, choke key in, and just a nip. It doesn't have to be over tight. And then the excess grease off the end, just take that off. And then always like to just rub down the barrel, take any fingerprints off, and you're also coating your bluing on your barrel with a thin film of grease, which is very important. So if we move on to the action now, we briefly touched on before the different types of hinge pin. There's a couple of other little pieces on the action that you should ensure are lubricated. Very, very simple. You've cleaned it all off to whatever extent you want to go to. Generally just wipe it out with a cloth. As I say, we've identified the hinge pins. A little bit of grease on your finger, just rub it in behind the hinge pin on both sides. Not too much, but make sure there's plenty in there. The other area is where the fore end runs. If I just pick the fore end up, you can see on there, that's the fore end meets together. You can see there's a metal to metal fit there. Very important, there's a film of grease or oil in that metal to metal fit. So again, just where the fore end runs, a thin film of grease just from your finger on there, and then the little slots where the ejectors run, a little bit of grease in there, both sides. And one thing that people often forget is you have the barrel locks at the back of the action. In this case, the barrel lock's going in and out there. Again, just a little bit of grease from your fingers, just make sure it's on there. Or again, you can use oil, or you could even cheat and put a tiny little bit of grease in there where the barrel lock's located in the barrels. Now I'll just cover the same off with the browning. A little bit more grease on my finger, not too much. Again, on the hinge pin. Now with the brown, make sure you get onto the underside of the hinge pin as well. So just push your finger all the way around. A bit of fluff. Where the fore end runs. Grease. Where just in the action there, where the ejector trips run. Now on the browning, the barrel lock is a bite at the bottom. You can see that move in and out as I move the top lever. Make sure you get a thin film of grease all the way along the top of the bite, and don't forget the underside as well because it's tapered. And then any excess grease that's on your finger, you don't waste it, just generally just rub it around the action. It does no harm, just to say, as long as it's not excessive. I'll use the brown when you come to put the gun back together. Always step away from everything. We've often seen people hit their fore ends, their actions with the barrels. I've even seen somebody hit a car wing. Take the gun together, which you know how to put it together. Open the top lever, lock it, take the fore end, take your time as always, clip it on, put the lock in, and I'll use the clean cloth now. You see the excess grease has come out in various places. Just wipe the excess grease off, and again, down the barrels, back down again. And that gun is now ready to be used again. As I say, there isn't a right or a wrong, it's how far you want to go, but our advice is always keep any moving parts on your gun clean and lubricated. The gun will last forever as long as you do that. And as I say, have all your bits set out, various things. You have leisure spray, various types of oil, but as I say, we always recommend using a good quality grease. It also helps to, when you come to re-clean your gun, you can see where it needs clean, take all the old grease off, and then replace it with new. So I hope you found this short video helpful on lubricating of your shotgun. Look after your gun and it'll look after you. Thank you.